Okay, you guys quit talking about the second district. She showed up.
Okay, Kelly, take it away before it goes off the rails.
Welcome everyone. Today's Fortuna Chamber noon Zoom meeting. It's February 1st, and I'm going to turn it over at this time to Rex, who has graciously agreed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Love America.
Thank you, Rex. I love the pillow.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do we have any new members or guests joining us today that'd like to introduce themselves?
Oh, I do believe we have a new guest by the name of Supervisor Bushnell, if she wants to say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
Do we have anybody else joining us today? All right. So Renee, I'm going to turn it over to you for some announcements.
Hi. Just to let everybody know, the California Relief Grant Round 2 will open tomorrow. If you applied under the first round, there's no need to apply for the second round. Hopefully some of our folks that applied in the first round will start getting some good news after the second round, although a lot of us seem to be just commiserating that we all got pushed into round 2. So hopefully we'll start getting some good news after that one. It'll stay open only for 6 days from the 2nd through the 8th. So make sure you get in there. If you need any help, let us know. And let's see. Also, PPP loans are back open. That is also round 2. It's open to first-time borrowers if you missed the first round last year, and it's also open to businesses who want to take a second draw. The forgiveness paperwork is also out, so if you want to work on getting the forgiveness for your first loan, do that before applying for a second loan. Just make your life a little bit easier. PPP loans, you go through your local banker, so touch base with them, and you have until March 31st or until funding runs out. So don't wait until the last minute if you are planning on applying. The chamber is sending a letter to Cal Recycle. We put it out last week and then in today's email. If you are a individual or a business and you would like to sign on to that letter that we'll be sending out probably late Friday or next Monday. Let me know by Friday at 3 o'clock, and we'll add either your individual name or your company if your company wants to get behind that and support our local grocers. And then finally, our next week, our very special guest is none other than our favorite city manager, Mayor Perry, who's working real hard on his presentation, and we're going to have a little mini state of the city, not to put too much pressure on him, but we'll have a nice little city update, which he'll probably, you'll see some of it tonight at City Council, which I will let him tell you more about. So I'm just going to turn it over to Merritt if he wants to talk about City Council.
Sure, it's a pretty short agenda on the City Council tonight. Just a few things here real quick. We have, let's see, wasn't quite ready for it. Continuing our local emergency. We're going to include also a letter of support for the American Legion to relicense their bar with the alcoholic and beverage control. They want to re-up their liquor license. And then we are bringing on a part-time economic development specialist. We actually already did that, but we're going to just formally take that to the council. And, it might be interesting for this group to know really what the effort is going to be is to pursue some of the CDBG and other funding sources that can help our businesses. So some of the first things that are going to come out of that are scoping meetings and a series of project ideas of how best to support our businesses. So look for more on that. It's going to be a real focus of ours over the next several months, actually, but there's going to be some public input needed in public meetings within the next few weeks. So
Want to tell people what that acronym is for those who aren't?
The CDBG?
The
Yeah, community
BGs.
development block grants. And, you know, for Fortuna, it's been tough. We don't have a large staff, and some of the other cities in the county have been doing a pretty good job of bringing some of the money that's been ran through the CDBG program for coronavirus relief to, you know, different programs to help businesses pay their rent or utilities or for retaining employees. Arcata, you know, I know they're working on developing a program for, you know, grants to businesses for employee retention. You know, Eureka's working on one where they have outdoors, they want to help create permanent outdoor spaces or parklets for their businesses. So I think, you know, it's taken us a little while, but we need to put some energy behind it, try to channel some of those dollars that are allocated towards the city. And, you know, each city has an allocated amount, but many cities, smaller cities, aren't able to do well getting those just because the administrative hurdle's so high. So even though this is a routine item on the agenda tonight, just kind of getting the council to bless the position, there's going to be a lot more to come, and we're really going to be leaning on the chamber to kind of see what our businesses really need. And what we've heard so far is we don't want any more loans. We want grants. We want to try to keep our employees, you know, employed and not lose our means of production. And the restaurants, they have challenges of just kind of keeping business volume up. So, you know, again, it's becoming a forefront focus for me, and something that we're a little bit behind, I think, some of the other cities, but I think we'll catch up. And, you know, if we're going to be dealing with this coronavirus for the next 6 to 8 months to a year before we can get ahead of it. I don't know, Rex is saying no, but I don't know. Let's try to work on some of those things to help businesses. So we're going to do our best to do that, and we're going to need input and the chamber's help to getting the word out. So stay tuned. And then we have one closed session item, which is just an update to the council on the negotiations for the Riverwalk Park, just north of the River Lodge, and some of the land across the river for wastewater.
Thank you, Merritt. Do we have any other members with announcements today?
Hey.
Go for it, Rex.
Gail, I just want to give a shout out. I mean, over the weekend through January 27th through January 31st, the St. Joseph's Health with their medical providers put out 1,850 vaccinations in that short period of time. I mean, that was it. That doesn't include Open Door, Mad River, United Indian Health, and everything else. So we got a lot of arms have got stepped back. I think public health, we've let them decide, you know, let's let them go. You get the normal complaint, they weren't old enough. Let's just stick people. But I think led by the medical group worked Saturday and Sunday, their after hours and stuff. And I guess it went smooth as hell. You should know the teachers from the Eel River Valley were in the forefront of that because they were in school, which was a big, you know, was something we'd push for, and then the other teachers are getting it. So to getting back to normal, and you may be right, Merritt, it may be 6 months, but I thought it was great to give a shout out to St. Joe's and all the other medical providers, because they're working some pretty hellacious hours to get everybody a shot. And I mean, I think we all know somebody that I just got mine. They're all calling about they got their shot. So, I mean, I think that's what we want to do at the end of the day. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not necessarily an oncoming train. So.
Thank you, Rex.
Well, I know the North Coast Journal is waiting for the all clear so they can have their oyster and sausage party with you.
There you go. That's right. I'll do that. I can do that with a mask.
Melissa's on the call. She's ready.
I'm the only one with a coffee pot in the building. I get lots of visitors just throw me in. And I have liquor.
Oh, it's Michelle. I'm here for coffee.
Yeah.
Any other member announcements today?
Down here at FBID, we are working on some grants with people. We're going to be doing the second round, like Renee had mentioned, and so we are going to be working with some businesses to send them down our way.
Thank you, Bernie.
Quick shout out to a family here in town that is their daughter, 18 years old, struggling with cancer. And one way you can support them is walk by Cornerstone Realty on Main Street. And Sally has got quite a display of raffle baskets in her window that the teachers at Fortuna High and other generous donors in the community have put together. So the raffle goes till next week. And they also are doing a live auction, and it's is over tonight, but you can log on to Friends of Darlie Diaz on Facebook. But you can at least help with the raffle tickets, and because if you can go in, every little bit helps. They're having to travel down to UCSF, and they're down there pretty much for a week on, week off kind of thing, and having to stay. And so the travel expenses and all. So anyway, our community, as usual, is stepping up, and it's really awesome to see, the support. So just thought I'd give that a big shout out.
Want to update us on your the Humboldt sponsors grants are open, I believe I saw that.
Yes, you did. We just opened those last week. They're on our website, humboldtsponsors.org. And these are our grants that we give out every year. Last year, we did 111,000 for about 75 different grantees. Of course, some had to cancel with COVID hitting. We sent the checks out, and the next week things shut down. So some grantees, different groups were able to kind of pivot and do some other fun things for kids in the community, which we really wanted them to do. So we're starting over. So the grant process is on our website. You can check it out. It's due on February 16th, and we will announce them by the end of March. So it's everything nonprofit kids activities, some camperships or whatever. So we're hoping COVID ends too, so some of these kids can get out and swim lessons, camperships, all sorts of things. So anyway, thanks Renee for that shout out. That's good.
Thank you, Becky.
Yep.
Any other members with announcements today?
Melissa, do you want to talk about your pet contest, your pet photo contest?
The pet photo contest. Finn and Feather and McCrae, Jason Guerra. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a super big pet fan, dog lover. So just for fun, we all got tired of hearing about COVID at the office. So we decided to have a pet contest to see everybody's pets. So it started today, and we've gotten a ton of entries already. And I added the farm category because I have farm pets. So show me your farm animals, Fortuna. Let's bring it strong.
And how do we
So
apply?
just go to our
How do we apply?
Go to the journal website, northcoastjournal.com, and it's right on the freaking homepage. You can't miss it. Click on it. It says enter your pet, and you just upload your photo. It's pretty easy. So,
And is there a prize? Are you creating a calendar for next year? What's going on?
So there's gift baskets, and I think we're gonna have some cash in there too for each category. It's gonna have a top winner, and I need a judge too. I haven't figured out who the judges are. So if you're not gonna enter and you want to be a judge, I'll take a celebrity judge to throw your name on there. We're gonna print the top 25 pets in the paper. So that's gonna be exciting. And there's some cute ones already, so go check it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Right. Anybody else out there with an announcement? Okay, then I'll go ahead and introduce today's guest speaker, Natalie DeLapp, Executive Director of the Humboldt County Growers Alliance. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here in Fortuna today. I'm sitting here and my dog is hanging out next to me, which is Luca, my big German Shepherd, who is afraid of the wind. So she is hiding under, like, an 80-pound, somewhat shaking German Shepherd hiding from the wind is kind of hilarious. So she's quite the guard dog. So I wanted to give a bit of a presentation for you and get this up and started. My name is Natalie DeLapp. I am the Executive Director of the Humboldt County Growers Alliance. And where are my buttons? Oh, that's the one. Okay, my little visible. So just out of folks joining us, have you guys heard of HCGA, Growers Alliance, generally? Awesome. Well, what we are is a trade association. We represent licensed cannabis operators within Humboldt County. We were founded in February 2017, so our 4th birthday is coming up in like 2 weeks. Our mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance Humboldt County's world-renowned cannabis industry. And we currently represent about 250 what we call plant touching members. These are the licensed operators, cultivators, manufacturers, retailers, testing labs, and distributors. Additionally, we also are supported by our allied industry business members, and these are lateral support businesses that are generally looking to sell either products or services to our industry. And then at HCGA, we have 3 major programs. We have a government affairs program where we do advocacy on a state and local level. We have a market development program, which is about developing markets and networking for our industry, as well as an education program. And education is to help build the business knowledge of our industry so that they are able to survive and thrive in a regulated market. So I thought I'd bring you some statistics, just what is the current state of cannabis in Humboldt County. We just ran the numbers, and guess what? Humboldt has 420 acres of cultivation. That's almost ironic. Humboldt has the most acres of cultivation in the state. We are ahead of Santa Barbara. We have 753 licensed cultivation operators in the county. So both areas of acres of cultivation and number of operators, we have the most in the state. And when you do the division on that, about our cultivation square footage on average is about a half an acre per farm. And to compare this to what's going on in the Central Coast, or Monterey or Santa Barbara or Salinas, they have gigantic farms and very few individual operators, where up here we have hundreds of independent businesses with small farms. Additionally, there are 56 manufacturing licenses within the county. Those are mostly in Eureka, Arcata, a couple in Rio Dell, and a few down in Garberville and the McKinleyville area, not so much. In total, there are 24 dispensary licenses. Looking for tax purposes, it is estimated that the Measure S cultivation tax that is applied to all cultivators within the county will have collected at almost $50 million between 2018 and 2021, and is on track to be bringing in $13.9 million last year and this coming year. So that makes the cannabis industry in Humboldt County our single biggest industry as far as tax contribution. On a state level, the cannabis industry has brought in $1.8 billion in tax revenue since 2018. So what are some of the ongoing obstacles and challenges for the cannabis industry? The biggest issue to date still is ongoing federal prohibition. I don't think I can overstate this is a huge problem. We're, as an industry, prevented from being able to access so many things because of this continued federal illegality. That being said, last year in November, the Congress passed what was called the MORE Act, and it passed through the House. It did not make it to a Senate floor for a vote, and we now have a new Congress. So the cannabis industry across the state and nation estimate that we will probably see some form of either descheduling or decriminalization of cannabis in the next 1 to 5 years. I don't know, the federal is a whole different issue. And so 1 to 5 years, we will see something that is either decriminalization or descheduling. Other obstacles are ongoing limited access to banking and capital. So our industry still has to work almost entirely in cash. This brings a lot of issues with it as far as people being robbed, making tax payments to the government and bringing in duffel bags of cash is ripe for disaster. That being said, we do have Coast Central Credit Union and Vocality are two of our local credit unions that are beginning to take cannabis businesses. They are requiring a lot of information, possibly people's firstborn children, but that means that they can get a bank account, and that's a good thing. And so I really want to commend our local credit unions for being able to take these steps forward. Our cannabis industry is regulated by 3 agencies on the state of California level: the Bureau of Cannabis Control, California Department of Public Health, as well as the California Food and Agriculture, CDFA. There is a proposal on the table through the governor's administration that will be consolidating those 3 agencies into a single agency in the next year. This could be really good. This could be really bad. Proposals like this seem like a great idea, but the details, we'll find out how this actually all works out. As far as HCGA, we are very much keeping our finger on the pulse of what that looks like. Of course, we are all in a pandemic and experiencing COVID. The cannabis industry was deemed essential both by Humboldt County as well as the state of California, which allowed cannabis businesses to continue to operate while many businesses were closed, which allowed revenues and employees to keep working. But having and keeping your employees was difficult. Maintaining workplace safety, having the proper SOPs in place, all of that was a lot of work, and it continues to be such. And then for our owner operators, many of them are single families. And so they're trying to juggle work and life balances. I have businesses that are run by moms who are trying to run a business and homeschool their kids, and then they can't bring their children to work because there's 21 and up restrictions in place. And then the cannabis industry was not able to access any of the state or federal relief packages that have been available for all the other businesses. And then one of the other challenges that our industry faces is a general lack of industry data and reporting. Because of federal illegality, there often has not been funding to go to universities to study impacts of cannabis on people or systems. There's been, and when we see science that's coming from state agencies, like environmental state agencies, they've been using data from prior to 2016, which is before legalization. So the data that comes into public policy has been relatively old. What we are looking forward to is that we're now finally just entering a new cycle where there's new data available, where researchers are able to study the current industry and not the past industry. And then something that we are really excited about is there will be an economic impact report that was funded by the state of California that's going to Humboldt State University, and it is going to be doing a North Coast Cannabis Economic Impact Report. This is a first of its kind. It's going to be a 5-county economic impact report that's looking at Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt, Del Norte, and Trinity counties, and we will finally be able to get estimates on cannabis revenue generation, number of employees, different wages of the employment sector. There's a lot of questions that the industry and policymakers and are asking, but we don't have a baseline on, how many are in the system? What is their contribution to tax purposes? How much are they cultivating? We don't actually have the answers to those really basic questions like all other industries do, but an economic impact report is being established, it's funded, and it will probably take 1 to 2 years to get that out. So, we've got cannabis throughout the county, but not a lot going on in Fortuna. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for Fortuna and the surrounding areas to begin to consider what cannabis might look like for the city. Specifically, that there's potential for light manufacturing of value-added products, allowing for distribution warehouses, non-storefront delivery for retail and or retail storefront. You know, what is at stake? You have the opportunity to bring in more new living wage jobs in the cannabis industry. Most people are being paid at least $15 an hour, and that's for the entry level, really basic work. And then as you go up in management levels or experience, people are getting paid in the $20 to $35 an hour and higher levels, which is really quite great. What we've seen in Arcata and Eureka is that by allowing cannabis businesses, it creates revitalization of underutilized commercial and retail space. And something that we saw in Eureka is that Eureka created its own discretionary review committee so that it really had an opportunity to decide what type of businesses it would and would not allow. It wasn't just the first person that submits an application you have to accept. They created a design review committee and really got to pick and choose what they wanted and thought would fit best with their values. Eureka has since evolved and they opened it up much more, but that's how they started out, was with that kind of design review. And that if you do choose to allow for a dispensary retail, what you're doing is you're allowing for safe access for consumers to buy regulated and tested products. So you're not exporting your local citizens to either Rio Del or Eureka, where those then sales tax dollars are being given to those other jurisdictions. Or you're not inadvertently supporting the illicit market because people want access to it. They're just going to buy it from their neighbor down the street. I see, Tammy, you were able to come out to our event in the spring of 2019. And Mike, I have not had a chance to meet you, and Merritt, we've chatted before, and Jeremy, we've chatted before, but I really just want to put out to all of you, any of you, that if you would like to go on a tour to Eureka and take a look at any of the manufacturing facilities or retail facilities, I'm happy to help arrange something like that. Even in the COVID era, we can still, you know, mask up and go, and happy to arrange that if anybody is interested. And then I wanted to bring it over to something that I often get asked about, and that is, what is the difference between hemp CBD and cannabis CBD? So specifically and scientifically, hemp and cannabis marijuana are the same plant. It's all cannabis. But they're distinguished and classified differently under US law. So hemp is a cannabis plant that contains less than 0.3% of THC, THC being the psychoactive compound. So it's hemp if it's below 0.3%. If it's above 0.4, it's cannabis. Same plant they use, they grow very much the same. They don't all look the same, but it's the same plant. What happened in late 2018, the Farm Bill, federal Farm Bill, deregulated hemp, which was essentially like opening up Pandora's box. They unregulated it, and it's created a Wild West scenario. In California, there are no state regulations for hemp. There's no testing regulations, there's no environmental cultivation regulations, and across the United States, it's a patchwork approach of how hemp is regulated, and interstate commerce is allowed. Some of the problems with that is people are supposedly growing hemp, but it is testing above 0.3%. They're saying it's hemp, but it's actually hot. It's hot hemp, and it gets people high, and they're able to ship it. And law enforcement, when you look at a pounds of hemp and pounds of cannabis, you can't visibly tell the difference. It looks the same, it smells the same, it's covered in crystals. It can be very problematic. So, and now of course there's this huge health craze of CBD. Everybody wants to take CBD because it's the cure-all for all of these conditions, and it does have a lot of therapeutic potential. But if people are buying it from just an unregulated store, you don't know what it is or where it's grown or even what's in the package. So you can buy hemp products at the grocery store, at the gas station, online, on YouTube, like everywhere. And it could be olive oil. There's nothing in it, there's no mandate that actually declares what you're buying is what it says, because it's unregulated. You also don't know where or how it was grown. And so hemp is being grown in Canada, China, Kentucky, Oregon. And one of the problems with hemp is both one of its best things and one of its worst things is that it cleans the soil. And so there are prior tobacco farms in Kentucky that are now transitioning to hemp, and they're growing hemp where they used to grow tobacco, where there was heavy pesticide use, and the hemp uptakes those heavy metals and pesticides, and then people are consuming it as a health benefit. You also might be purchasing it from China. None of this has to be declared. So I do believe in the benefits of hemp and CBD and cannabis CBD. That being said, if you're not working within California's cannabis regulated system, we don't know what it is. And so I caution people buying and purchasing hemp products. Really, you need to be purchasing it from a reputable brand and really know what it is. But most hemp that you can purchase is not that. And so another part of this is like, you can either have CBD, what's called isolate, where it is just pure CBD, or what's called full spectrum CBD. And what that is, full spectrum, is all of the additional compounds of the plant are in whatever you're consuming. And so that is the CBD, the trace amounts of THC, the terpenes, the cannabinoids, and the terpenes are the smells. And when the whole plant works together and you're taking it in that way, you get more of the medicinal benefits. And so, you know, as a cannabis advocate, I really do encourage consumers, if you are going to be consuming or trying cannabis products or cannabis CBD products, that you protect yourself. And so purchasing cannabis CBD through a regulated dispensary is the safest way, so that you know what you're getting. It will tell you where it's from, what's in it. And by purchasing from a licensed dispensary, what you're doing is generating cannabis tax revenues for both local and state governments. You're supporting California cannabis cultivators and manufacturers. You're supporting the strictest environmental regulations California has ever devised for an industry. And that the product that you're consuming is clean and tested and has fewer pesticides even than organic produce. So in closing, if you are considering cannabis products and CBD products, you have a couple retailers in Rio Del. There are 10 in Eureka. And a few of my favorite products in the CBD realm, for if you're getting used to cannabis, are Humboldt Apothecary. They make amazing tinctures. Papa and Barkley has all sorts of balms and salves and patches. Same with Kiskanoo. There are different edible producers. So if people, we're in the era of pandemic, so maybe people don't want to smoke, but finding ways to ingest it where it's not going to impact our lungs is ideal in some ways. So those are a few of them. And with that, I will close and ask if you guys have any questions about what I just discussed.
Thank you, Natalie.
Go ahead, Rex.
Need to unmute yourself, Rex.
Where'd he
Computer.
go?
Sorry. Yeah, Tara Carver, the last executive director, and then Nadlin has taken over. They have helped shape what the county's done because they've been a valuable resource. And I can tell you, Nadlin has done a great job, because I could tell you 8 years ago, if she got hit by a car crossing Fifth Street, I would have been happy. Her and I didn't always see eye to eye. But she's become a great ally when we're trying to reach out, because I'm always amazed to find out we have marijuana in Humboldt County. But I think the idea of being knowledgeable, they're well respected in the Capitol. I go to Sacramento, or used to, once a month and stuff, and on a lot of hearings. I've been to 2 shows that you've put on at River Lodge that have been very well attended, and like I said, Tammy's gone and things like that. But I think they're a great asset if and when you guys ever decide to do something with it. I'm sure they would work side by side. And again, you've got it all around you, so maybe you don't need to go there. I know we definitely don't want it on the sphere of influence. I do know that. So, but with that being said, I wanted to recognize Humboldt County growers, because since 2017, they've been a great ally and somewhere you can turn to for great information and accurate information from throughout what the state's doing. So, and that's in an industry that's coming out in its childhood or infancy from illegal to legal. It's a lot like, I suggest you buy Last Call or some of the books. There's 4 good books about prohibition, and you can really take alcohol and put cannabis in the name. And we're running side by side about how much, all of a sudden all these guys are having to pay taxes and everything else. It's kind of shocking for them. And then it's kind of funny how much White Lightning is still sold in those states that have become legal. So, but anyway, I appreciate the Growers Association, especially now, being helpful. And they've got a government, I think Ross, is his name Ross Gordon? Ross, who's just, he's really smart. So they're great. They're great. It's a great asset to have if you ever consider it.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much,
Rex.
Rex. Yeah, and just to thank you very much. It's really an honor to be able to work with how do I say this? An organized, we're doing our best to help organize the industry. And right now, I would say, just doing the math on it, we represent about 33% of the cultivators, which means we have a lot of room to grow. So I'm always looking for more new members, but to have 33% of our industry come forward and voluntarily seek to work together to come up with solutions, we were discussing, and Rex, I'll bring this to you. We were discussing issues with on-site processing out in the hills. And so we're able to get on the call just like this with 22 of our members, hear what their concerns are, and then put together a letter. So it's like, instead of our decision maker, like Director Ford, getting 23 phone calls and having to spend 23 hours trying to deal with that, we'll be able to bring succinct, these are the issues, this is what we think, this is where we think the possible changes are, and help him. It's like, we want to help make it as streamlined as possible for our planning staff and our directors, to where we can help calm things down when it needs to be. And just like, okay, where do we need the changes? And it's an honor to be able to organize in that way. And what I will say is the unregulated industry is not organized. And I was talking to somebody else recently, and they were talking to me about what their potential audience that they were talking about. And I said, well, you're talking about the unregulated industry. We don't represent the unregulated industry. I don't have an email list for the unregulated industry. Like, I don't know how to get a hold of someone there. So it's an interesting phenomenon. So if people are interested in learning about what's going on with the regulated industry and how we can work together, or provide input on what's worked and what hasn't worked in other jurisdictions, we're always happy to engage.
Thanks, Natalie, for presenting. I had a question, Renee, if no one else is in queue.
Go ahead, and then it looks like Tammy unmuted herself. So we'll go Merritt and then Tammy.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you being on, Natalie. One of the things we were really hoping to do, and the council asked me to do last year, was really put together a presentation on the different aspects of the industry, and really bring that to the council for consideration. And we were really hoping to do a big kind of workshop at the River Lodge, and then COVID hit. And one of our concerns was with participation really being down on Zoom meetings, that, would it be a mistake to hold that workshop before having an online, before we could have an in-person format. And so now as time goes on, I know there's still interest from our council to consider the different types of industry, but that's, so I guess one question is, do you think it would make sense, even if it's going to be an online, and that we'd see the kind of participation, and I can kind of, I'm not sure. I think if we publicize it, we'll probably get more people, and it's an interesting subject. And then the other part is, we were looking at working with consultant Rob Homeland is now with Plan West, and he helped roll out the presentation, the format in Eureka, and he was quite familiar. We were also going to have David Loya come on and help explain what Arcata's approach was, and try to just get an overview of the different approaches all the cities have taken, and kind of what the economic benefits, what the costs have been, and really just provide a well-rounded presentation. And one of the things that we really want to see too is we want to see a presentation from producers in the different aspects of the industry, so the council could get a feel of those. And it might be that we couple that with some of the tours for council members. And so I appreciate your offer. We'll definitely be looking for help. And my general question is, if you have any input or thoughts on do that sooner, or maybe it'd be better to wait. But at this point, if you talk to Rex, we'll be out of COVID tomorrow, but I'm still thinking we're at least 6 to 8 months out. So
Well,
any thoughts you have on kind of
Just hoping, Merritt, I'm just hoping.
I guess one of my questions is, are you trying to educate the general public, or are you trying to educate the council members?
Well, I think what we want is an overall presentation to the council and the public on really what the industry is, what the different aspects are, and to be able to consider what parts of the industry might be appropriate within the city of Fortuna. And I think what the council really wants to hear is they want to hear, what does the public think, and what things would be acceptable to the public, or what the public might be accepting of in the future. Because we've gotten mixed messages from different aspects, and really trying to get that public input on, the direction we're going. And, some of the council members have taken tours, are familiar with the industry, and we've seen a lot of professionalism, but, I think it's more just educational, and then looking for public input. So again, I'd be happy to work with you and kind of think about, different ways that we could present that. And again, my plan was to have Rob kind of help do a cumulative presentation, but more than willing to include the Growers Alliance too.
Awesome. Well, just some overarching thoughts. Like, this is a public relations issue. And so I call this, like, you have to shift people's perception of what the industry is. And the industry has a notoriously bad public relations problem. And I mean, even in our own local media, listing LOCO, Time Standard, Redheaded Black Belt, like the majority of the articles that you read about the cannabis industry are usually crime related, and getting positive stories is difficult. And so for the general public, they're still thinking, like, if this comes into my neighborhood, that it's going to result in crime, lack of safety, or my property values are going to go down. There is not, and this is a problem just even in our own community. And so if you were just to take like a finger on your pulse of like what is right now baseline perception of cannabis in Fortuna, they're not going to be very receptive to most. And so then you can do an educational forum, if you're really lucky, like 500 people showed up, which is never going to happen. And so maybe 500 people would have like, oh, okay, this could be good, but you still have 25,000 people that don't know differently. And so, and then when your council starts moving forward, you're going to end up with the panic. What are you guys doing? So it's just kind of a difficult situation. And so I think the more people that are able to understand that, I mean, 1 or 2 dispensaries in your town probably wouldn't be a bad thing. Some really minor light manufacturing and a distribution or processing facility, and like the outstretches, like no one would know the wiser. And I think what we saw with Eureka is most people actually didn't know what was happening until later, the members of the public, and then there was no signage, and so no one knew actually what was happening. And then they're like, oh, my world didn't come crashing to a halt. So just from a strategy standpoint, from like a public relations strategy, you've got to shift people's perception, and it's not even your job, it's our industry's opportunity, and it's the media, and it's figuring out how to educate people to what those options are and being able to go from there.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of being behind is being able to get public safety. They say, for example, from Arcata, how's it been with your dispensaries, or how's it been with manufacturing? And they'll be able to kind of share what, some of the lessons learned are, and, maybe some of the misguided fears, or, maybe they'll say, hey, stay away from it. But we have plenty of examples of how it's going in the county now, and we can make an informed decision. And the council, I would say that the council, they want to say, let's take a wait and see approach. So we've taken a very long wait and see. It's time to talk about it again. The council's directing me to do that. So we're at that point, and really, we literally had a workshop scheduled for last April, and now we've been on hold for COVID. So we're ready to take it up again, and we'll look forward to kind of getting you involved in trying to find some of the industry folks to share their part. But again, we're going to be leaning heavily on some of the other cities' experience too.
Absolutely. And I think that that's the wisest direction, is talk to the cities and have them explain. And in Eureka, Swan knows how to get a hold of every manufacturer that's in town, vice versa. You don't need to go through me. You go the most direct route. But one of the best things about Zoom is you can live broadcast this stuff to the City of Fortuna YouTube channel. I really love what I call on-demand viewing, so that even if your public wasn't able to all attend that town hall meeting, you can continue to push that out to where you have record of what was discussed, and you can always lean back on that when people are like, you didn't say that, and you're like, actually, yes, I did. It's right here.
Great. Thanks again.
Madeline, I just want to say too, we did a survey in 2019. Hi, how's it going?
Hi.
In 2019, we were able to capture 200 businesses that filled out a survey. And in that, it was really mixed. Like, I want parts of cannabis, but not all of it. So like, we were able to capture their contacts. So they've already, and we could follow up on that too. So.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
That's Diana, right?
Yes.
Hi.
Tammy, you had a question?
Not really a question, just kind of a statement. When this industry became legal, I did feel it was really important to educate myself. So I really jumped out of my comfy box when I went down to River Lodge. And Madeline was so helpful and so educated. She actually walked me around, which I was very scared to go in there, but she walked me around, showed me all the different industries and the different businesses. And I was really surprised at how professional all of that was. And then she set up a meeting with one of the dispensaries. So I made Merritt go with me because I was kind of afraid to go by myself. So him and I went up there, and it was very educational, very professionally ran. And I would highly recommend that the rest of the council arrange to go get a tour of, some of these businesses and some of these things, because it really does teach you a lot about the industry and about things that may fit into Fortuna. And then, we kind of have to go to our citizens and see what the majority of they want too. But I do feel it's really important to at least be educated on what we're making our decisions on. And I wanted to thank Madeline because she was very helpful on educating me. And I told them when I went in there, I don't know anything about this. And they didn't treat me like I was crazy when I asked what a flower was. That's how uneducated I was on all of this. So, it really does help to get yourself educated on the different businesses. I know Fortuna will never be a grow city. There's no place in that. but there is possible opportunities for other types of business. And I just think it's important to at least make an educated decision.
Yeah, I recommend just popping in, kind of think of yourself like a mystery shopper of walking into some of these dispensaries. Like there's a 10. Eureka's, I think, kind of going a little overboard, just in my opinion. There's 4 on my block where our office is. I'm like, maybe too many. You don't need to do that. But just popping in. But this is what I don't like. Like, this is what's difficult is, you have to go in, you have to show your ID. It kind of feels a little strange and this is what with the CBD issue, it's like, you can either go to Eureka Natural Food and spend $50 on this like CBD jar, and you're just at the grocery store and you just put it in your cart and walk away. It takes more effort to buy the cannabis CBD products because you have to go into these places and, and there is a trepidation. Like I feel nervous going in there. I'm like, oh my God, the bud tender is going to make me feel stupid. And they don't, but it's like, I struggle with it sometimes. I'm like, and there's so many options, but like just chatting with them and just seeing what they do, it really is kind of interesting. You don't need to buy anything, just go in and, imagine you're just a, mystery shopper. What would your experience be like? What is, does it look nice? Do you like how they're operating?
I had a quick question, which it's a relatively new thing, and so I'm sorry to put you on the spot about it. So don't feel bad if you don't have enough to talk about. What's going on with advertising, billboard advertising? I saw something came down. Yeah, but again, you don't have to get into it now because I know it's a decision that came down recently where cannabis advertising on billboards is now not okay or something.
I can answer that, Renee. It's not going anywhere. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, Prop 64, it explicitly stated that you couldn't advertise on highways that had interstate highways. But the BCC, the Bureau of Cannabis Control, I like the term, gave the cannabis industry the homie hookup and gave it like, okay, well, just so long as you're not within 15 miles of Oregon or Arizona or Nevada. And then a lawsuit was filed down in San Luis Obispo, and it was obvious that it was inaccurately being applied. And so no more cannabis. I mean, there's a question that we're asking some attorneys is that Highway 101 is a state highway, not a US. There's some differentiation, like US Highway 101 specifically, if there was a bunch of lawyers wanted to get involved, could possibly push the definition of what US Highway 101 is, but it's no more advertising of anything. And I mean, I get it. People don't want people selling weed to kids, but most of our advertisements up here are like business to business advertisements. In kind of closing, I wanted to say thank you so much to Renee and the Fortuna Chamber. HCGA, we have been offering a reciprocal membership between the Chambers of Commerce throughout Humboldt County and HCGA. So we have now brought on almost all of the chambers as members of HCGA. So we have Sohum, Fortuna, Arcata, Eureka, Willow Creek, and McKinleyville. And it's really important for us, and what we're starting to do more is push out membership with our members to join your local chambers, and really wanting people to integrate. If the cannabis industry does not want to be treated as separate from everybody else, it needs to integrate in with the other business communities. And as the other business communities are more welcoming to cannabis, we can bring people together and share resources. And so we are continuing to encourage our membership to join our local chambers. And hopefully in about a month, my goal is to bring all of the chamber EDs on to one of our industry affairs calls like this and have everybody give a pitch to the industry and say, hey, join up, whether you're in McKinleyville, Arcata, Eureka, Fortuna, or Southern Humboldt.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate all of the information, as I'm sure everyone did. And unless there's any other lingering questions, we'll go ahead and it's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
great
Natalie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See y'all later.
See y'all
See you
later.
tonight on City Council.